So, what if I told you that McDonald's isn't really in the burger business? Or that the success of your favorite convenience store has way more to do with data science than it does with snacks? Well, today, we are pulling back the curtain on the hidden economics of some of the world's biggest brands. And you're about to see that what they actually sell is often way more fascinating than what's on the menu.
Okay, let's kick things off with a classic, McDonald's. You've probably heard the theory, right? That they're not really a burger company, but a massive real estate empire. And look, there's definitely some truth to that. With over $30 billion in real estate, they are one of the biggest landlords on the planet.
But here's the thing. Just focusing on the land, you miss the real story. The true genius of McDonald's isn't just owning all that property, it's about perfecting a process, a system so powerful, so influential, that it literally broke out of the kitchen and started redesigning the entire world around us.
This is the real McDonald's blueprint, and it's so much more than a guide to flipping burgers. It's a model for how to structure, well, pretty much everything.
A sociologist named George Ritzer actually came up with a term for it, McDonaldization. His whole argument was that the fast food restaurant has basically become the blueprint for our modern world, just like bureaucracy was for a previous era. It's a formula for making things rational, and we see it everywhere now, from how we learn in schools to how we get treated at the hospital.
So how does this whole system work? Well, it's built on four main pillars. First, there's efficiency, finding the absolute fastest path from point A to point B. Think hungry to fed or confused to having an answer. Second is calculability. This is all about quantity over quality. Bigger is always better. Third, predictability. You're guaranteed that a Big Mac in Tokyo tastes exactly the same as one in Ohio. And finally, control. Replacing human judgment with technology that is precise and never has a bad day. Okay, so if McDonald's created the blueprint for systemizing the world, our next company, 7-Eleven, took that idea and perfected it on the ground with data. And this is a pretty wild story of how the student eventually became the master. You see, when 7-Eleven Japan got the keys to the franchise, they didn't just see a bunch of convenience stores. No, they saw a high-density data network. By clustering all their stores tightly together, they created this incredibly efficient distribution system that also happened to be a powerhouse for collecting real-time customer data. And the difference was just staggering. The old American model was slow, inefficient. I mean, some stores found that nearly half their products were just sitting on the shelves unsold. But the Japanese model? It was hyper-responsive. They used multiple daily deliveries that were all tailored to real-time sales data, local demographics, and even the weather. Their whole philosophy was called Tonpin Konri, which basically means item-by-item management. It was this relentless obsession with stocking exactly what a customer wanted in that specific store at that specific moment. And this approach was so darn powerful that the Japanese subsidiary ended up buying its own American parent company. I mean, talk about a reverse innovation. So we've gone from the high-tech data obsession of 7-Eleven, and now we're going to pivot to a company that masters efficiency in a totally different way, through radical, calculated simplicity. Let's talk about Aldi. You know that feeling when you walk into an Aldi? You ever wonder why it feels so bare bones? From needing a quarter to get a cart, to seeing products still sitting in their shipping boxes? Well, trust me, none of that is an accident. It's all part of a master plan. And here it is, their core strategy in one simple chart. While your typical supermarket is trying to juggle over 30,000 different products, Aldi just focuses on about 1,600. That radical simplicity means smaller stores, fewer employees, and a much, much more efficient operation from top to bottom. So how do they do it? How do they get those prices so low? Well, here it is. 90% of everything Aldi sells is their own private label. By completely cutting out the big national brands and the middlemen, they can use their massive buying power on just a few items to get absolutely unbeatable prices. But this is where the real genius comes in. That bare bones feel of the store, it's actually a brilliant psychological trick. When we see the simple displays and the coin-operated carts, our brain automatically connects the dots. We think, oh, the store is saving money on operations, which means the low prices are because they're efficient, not because the products are cheap or low quality. It's an absolute masterclass in building trust through simplicity. All right, so we've covered societal systems, data networks, and physical efficiency. Now, let's dive into a company that basically threw out the entire operations playbook and decided to win by focusing on just one thing: psychology. Let's talk about liquid death. This quote really says it all. The bottled water industry has always been a marketing game.
But for decades, everybody played by the exact same rules. Cell purity, cell nature, cell health. The genius of Liquid Death was realizing they could win by breaking every single one of those rules. I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got the calm, pristine, mountain spring marketing of traditional bottled water. And on the other, you have Liquid Death, which puts water in a beer can and markets it with skulls and a punk rock attitude. They knew they weren't just selling hydration, they were selling rebellion. So, did it work? Yeah, this number pretty much speaks for itself. By marketing the most basic beverage on earth as a kind of counterculture statement, Liquid Death built a company with a $1.4 billion valuation. They proved that in a crowded market, sometimes the story you tell is everything.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? We've looked at 4 really different companies, but each one of them has mastered a unique playbook for completely disrupting their industry. Let's lay them out. First up, you've got the McDonald's playbook systemize absolutely everything. Turn your business into a rational, predictable, and efficient machine. Second, the 7-Eleven playbook. Use data as your ultimate weapon to create a hyper-efficient logistics and supply chain. Third, the Aldi playbook. Master radical simplicity and then use that simplicity as a psychological tool to signal incredible value. And finally, the Liquid Death playbook. If everyone in your market is zigging, win by zagging hard in the complete opposite direction. 4 brands, 4 incredibly powerful hidden strategies for success. So that brings us to the final question for you. Whether it's through systems or data or simplicity or just pure rebellion, each of these brands found incredible success by looking at their business in a totally new way. So which of these playbooks could you use to rewrite the rules in your own world?